8.3, Using Intercepts, page 151. X-intercept. The x-coordinate of a point where a graph crosses the x-axis is the x-intercept. Y-intercept. The y-coordinate of a point where a graph crosses the y-axis is a y-intercept. To find the x-intercept of a line, you substitute 0 in for y in the line's equation and then solve for x. To find the y-intercept of a line, substitute 0 in for x into the line's equation and solve for y. You are essentially doing two problems in one. To find the x-intercept, let y equal 0. And solve for x. So instead of this y, we're going to place 0 in there. Five times 0 is 0, and 2x minus 0 is 2x. Divide by the coefficient to both sides. Negative 10 divided by 2 is 5, and x is now alone because 2 divided by 2 is 1. X equals negative 5. You are not finished with the problem. You now need to do the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, this time let x equal 0. You're using the same equation that you used before, except now instead of this x, we're going to put in 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 5y, well, nothing, minus 5y, it becomes negative 5y. Remember, this subtraction can become adding a negative. Negative 5y equals negative 10. Divide by the coefficient, negative 5. Remember to divide by the negative. We never say anything about dividing by the opposite. It's always divide by the actual number. Divide both sides by negative 5. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is positive 2. So your x-intercept is negative 5. The y-intercept is 2. The way you write this is not as an ordered pair. You can actually just write x equals negative 5, y equals 2. It is not an ordered pair. I will not accept it if you write it like this. This is incorrect. Do not do that. To graph this, we now use the x and y intercept that we used before. The nice thing about this is that you do not need to solve for y. You don't need to change it into function form. You substitute 0 in for x to find y. You substitute 0 in for y to find x. X-intercept is negative 5. So the plotted point is negative 5, 0. The y-intercept is 2. So the plotted point is 0, 2. Plot the 2 points. Here's the x-intercept. You can see it crosses the x-axis. And here's the y-intercept. Intercept means it's going to cross the y-axis. Draw a line between those 2 points. And you're done. You have your linear equation. Find the intercepts of the equation's graphs. I like to section my paper off into two separate problems. The first one is when x equals 0. That means I'm going to find y. And the second side is when y equals 0. I'm going to use the same equation, except on this side, where x is, I'm going to put in 0. On the right side, keep the x, because that's what we're going to find on the right side, and where y is, I put in 0. Now solve. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 3y equals 6. Well, 0 plus 3y, 0 goes away, 3y equals 6. You still have this coefficient on the side with y, so divide by 3, y equals 6 divided by 3, 2. On the right side, nothing happens with the 2x, plus 3 times 0 is 0, equals 6. Well, 2x plus 0, just 2x. That equals 6. Divide by the coefficient. You're trying to isolate the variable. 6 divided by 2 is 3. This is your x. Again, you have two separate problems, two separate answers. You then need to graph this. Remember, this is y equals 2. So x is 0, comma, 2. And on the right side, x is 3. 3, comma, 0. Again, 2 points that you have so that you can graph. Here's the graph. Zero comma 2, 3 comma 0. Number 2, we're doing the exact same thing. Again, I like to section my paper off into two sides when x is 0 and when y is 0. We're using the one equation though. So my left side, instead of x, I'm going to substitute in 0 minus 6y equals 12. On the right side, instead of y, I'm going to put in 0. 3x minus 6 times 0, not y, equals 12. Okay, let's simplify each side. 3 times 0 is 0. Subtract 6y. And you can change all of your subtractions to adding a negative. That will make it easier, and I know I've said this many times. That will make it easier for you in the long run. Now 0 plus negative 6y is just negative 6. You want to make sure you bring down the negative 6. Don't just ignore the subtraction. It is a negative 6 equals 12. Divide by the coefficient, and again divide by the actual coefficient of negative 6. Y equals 12 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. Your ordered pair, x is 0, because it's the intercept. It's going to cross at the y-axis at negative 2. And just to show you on the graph, that would be right here. Let's go to the y side. So now, instead of y, I'm going to put in 0. Oh, I want that x. We're finding x this time. 6 times 0 is 0. Again, you can keep bringing down the 12. You can bring it down at the end. 3x minus 0, well, that's just 3x, equals 12. 3 times x, this is the coefficient 3, so divide by 3, that crosses out. 12 divided by 3, do it to both sides, x equals 4. So what's your ordered pair? Well, x is 4, y is nothing. Again, it's going to cross right here on the x-axis at 4. 2 points that you're plotting. Okay, when you run and walk on a fitness trail that is 12 miles long, you run 6 miles per hour and walk 3 miles per hour. Write and graph an equation describing your possible running and walking times on the fitness trail. Give 3 possible combinations of running and walking times. First of all, I made it into a verbal model, and then here is your equation. Again, find the x-intercept. This time, they section it off into 2 categories for us. So I'm actually not going to set up my grid because they kind of do it for us by setting up 2 problems. Here's the equation. We're trying to find x. That means y needs to be 0. I want to clear y out to find x. When you're finding y-intercept, x equals 0. Substitute 0 in for y. 6 times x plus 3 times 0, which is just 6x, equals 12. Divide by 6 on both sides. X equals 2. Let's find our y-intercept. And this time, 0 goes in for the x. 6 times 0 plus 3y equals 12. Just leaves you with 3y because 6 times 0 is just 0. Divide by 3 on both sides, y equals 4. Plot these points on the graph. X is 2. Let me highlight them for you. X is 2, so you plot that point, 2, 0. And y is 4, 0, 4. You do not draw a line all the way through this time because you have a certain rate that you are walking and running. You also can find a third point, even though they don't tell us. You can look at the graph and find this point right here, 1, 2. So you can run not at all, walk for 4 hours, that's 0, 4, or run for 1 hour and walk for 2 hours, 1, 2. Or run for 2 hours and not walk at all. There's your 3 points. This is not what we will be doing in class.